Braves Vision.
Well, this sellout crowd was wondering, is there magic in the air tonight? Winning run at third. One down, 3-2. Swung on and jolted high in the air. Deep right field. Back to the wall. A sonic boom out of the ballpark. Braves win it. A walk-off grand slam by Dominic Smith. And this place erupts here in Atlanta, Georgia.
What a night and what a start to the season. Atlanta Braves baseball is presented by Truist. And the Braves now go for a sweep against the Kansas City Royals, trying to get to 3-0. The boys are ready to go on this Sunday afternoon at Truist Park, and we are ready to bring you all the action. Hello, Braves country. Welcome back to Braves Vision. Brandon Gaudin and C.J. Nitkowski. Wiley Ballard will join us in just a little bit. Special, that homer from Dom Smith. We'll get into that story a little bit later. But, C.J., game 1 and 2, really, the Braves offense has been powered by the long ball.
Remind you maybe of a couple of years ago when we saw an historic offense with the home runs for this Braves group. Well, they're at it again. Ozzie got us started in a big way, but he has not been the only one. Drake Baldwin, of course, the Rookie of the Year from a year ago. Michael Harris after that great spring going deep as well. And then the big one last night. What a moment it was for Dom Smith. All the emotion, an amazing comeback win for the Atlanta Braves. That's put them in a great spot. Now this afternoon on the mound, Grant Holmes will be making his season debut, and he likes pitching here at Truist. How about 12 home starts last year with that sub-3 ERA? A little bit of a scare last year with the elbow injury. He is fine. He also had a strong spring training. We'll look forward to watching Grant here this afternoon against the Royals.
Get something cold, maybe go grab your broom. See if the Braves can sweep the Royals. Starting lineup's first pitch and all the play-by-play action next on Braves Vision. Brought to you by Delta Airlines. Keep climbing. By your local Ford dealer. And by the Georgia Lottery. Today could be the day. Grant Holmes out there in the center of the diamond, ready to rock and roll on this Sunday afternoon in Atlanta, GA, as the Braves try to sweep the Kansas City Royals. And here is the lineup for manager Matt Quatrero. Michael Garcia, Bobby Witt Jr. They are the staples, 1 and 2 in the order. Pasquantino will hit third today. And then the veteran Prez, the DH, will clean up. Well, Grant Holmes, not only his first start of the season, it's his first start as a 30-year-old. It was a week ago today that he turned 30. And now he begins his second full Major League Baseball season.
And good to see Grant Holmes healthy. It becomes important. We know what's going on with the staff right now. The injury last year turned out not to be a problem. And as we focus on Grant Holmes, we're going to focus on that slider and that curveball. He spins it as good as anybody. And that brings us to our Ford keys here this afternoon for the Atlanta Braves. The spin doctor. That slider curveball combination for Grant Holmes. It's critical to what he does, and he does it really well. And we get the kitchen sink today. Seth Lugo is on the other side for the Kansas City Royals. He has 10 pitches listed, according to StatCast, that he has thrown going back to last year. That is about everything you could possibly think of. And so the Braves got something to contend with a very deep repertoire against Seth Lugo.
A pleasant Sunday afternoon for baseball here. Game 3 of the season, and Holmes misses low and away, and off we go. Now Michael Garcia 1 for 6 with a pair of walks so far in this series. Garcia off the end of the bat. Acuna trotting in. 1 away. So you've got Acuna in right, Harrison center, Mike Yastrzemski out in left. Racetrack defense for the Braves, and see the bottom right there, the hero from yesterday, Dom Smith. Once again will be the designated hitter.
A little bit of a different look right at shortstop today. Jorge Mateo getting that opportunity. He was a shortstop for a long time and then started to see some time in the outfield as well, but giving Mauricio Dubon a little bit of a breather this afternoon.
But Dubon made a great defensive play yesterday, had a big run producing double in game 1. And then CJ yesterday, you think of Dom Smith's contributions. Mike Yastrzemski had a big RBI hit as well. So the new guys have been showing up for Atlanta.
You love doing it, right? We talked about it in spring training, how cool it was for guys like Yaz to make an impression, but this is when it matters the most, and it's gone well for these guys.
And so far so good for number 66, Grant Holmes, facing one of the toughest customers in Major League Baseball in Bobby Witt Jr. Three hits in the series for the Royals shortstop. So CJ mentioned it, and Braves fans will remember for Grant Holmes, but that partially torn UCL last year, missed the final 2 months, opted not to have surgery, just rehab. He did say that UCL tear may have been pre-existing. Regardless, he said he felt great during spring training, and hopefully that carries over. And induces a high fly towards Riley. 2 down.
And that one against the two-seam fastball, which is something that Grant threw a little bit more in spring training. Will be very interesting to see what that looks like during the regular season. His four-seam fastball, he did have some issues last year. Again, slider, curveball, really good. The four-seamer got hit, and it seems like maybe that means a few more two-seamers this year for Grant Holmes.
The first pitch, Vinny Pasquantino out towards Acuna. No problem. Can of corn. Good start for Holmes. Royals in order. 1, 2, 3. Bravos coming up.
Hamilton is
Chick-fil-A, home of the original chicken sandwich. By Rooms to Go, where you get incredible savings all month long during the Rooms to Go anniversary sale. And by Georgia Natural Gas. It's that simple. Truist Park all dressed up on this Sunday afternoon. Uneventful top of the first. And now hoping to make some noise with this lineup at the bottom of the first, brought to you by Racetrack, Acuna, Baldwin, and Olson. The first three. And the first pitch from Lugo is into the mitt of Jensen, the catcher. One away. Well, Seth Lugo, 36 years old, 11th big league season, signed a 2-year extension last year. CJ, what can we expect to see from this right-hander?
Kind of like PJ, mix it up every once in a while. Why not? We can expect to see a lot of pitches. Get ready. 4-seamer, curveball, 2-seamer, cutter, slurve, changeup, slider, slow curve, sweeper, and splitter. That is what the data tells us.
Which is unbelievable, right? I mean, it's one thing to see 6 pitches from a guy, but 10, you just don't see that often.
And he does spread it out. As far as last year went, no pitch more than 21% of the time. Now, we'll say this, the lefty's a little bit of an advantage. He had some struggles last year against left-handed hitters, and that's why you want as many in there as you possibly can get this afternoon. They hit Seth Lugo to an 858 OPS to the lefties.
And Baldwin down quickly. So 2 down. Racetrack defense for the Royals. Thomas Isbell, Caglione to the outfield. And Garcia and Witt, a couple of Gold Glovers on the left side. And Connor Jensen, the rookie, giving Perez a day off behind the dish, though Perez does DH. And the birthday boy, Matt Olson, comes up hacking, turning 32 today. And he's still going to have life as Thomas can't get to it.
That seems this time of year. A lot of Braves birthdays, right? Chris Sale's coming up in a couple of days. We just had Drake Baldwin. You mentioned Grant Holmes, well, back on the 22nd. Just do one really big birthday party for everybody.
Of course, Matt born right here in the city of Atlanta back on March 29th of '94. So he came in during the strike season. And then, of course, it was the next year the Braves would get that first World Series ring in '95. Now, one thing to keep an eye on with Seth Lugo, especially in the second half last year, giving up a lot of homers, career high 27 home runs last season. And the Braves, as we mentioned at the top of the show, have already hit 4 long balls in 2026.
And that was only in 26 starts, right? Missed a little bit of time. It was a real issue and hadn't been prior in his career. He's one of those guys that did a nice job of making that conversion from the bullpen into the rotation, just like we saw Ronaldo Lopez when he joined the Braves. He was really good yesterday.
Which was great to see, and the velocity was there for him. That was a concern during spring training.
Yeah, you know, when we had that, heard that whole conversation, right, where he was in the upper 80s in his last spring training start, and he talked about mechanics. And I'm like, man, maybe, but like 4 or 5 miles an hour seemed like a stretch, and he was right. It was all back last night, which was great to see.
A bevy of foul balls here for Olson.
Well, good to see right after 4 pitches and 2 outs to start this game as the first pitch out for Ronald and a 3-pitch punch out for Drake. And now Matt Olson making Seth Lugo work just a little bit now.
5 foul balls in this at bat. This one in play. Right back where it came from. First inning, 6 up, 6 down. Top of the second, we mentioned Matt Olson, 32 today. Another guy who's 32, but not today, is Wiley Ballard, and we go down to him now.
Well, thanks, Brennan. In good company today with Matt Olson and Grant Holmes on the mound. And one of the things he is really focused on in spring training is that changeup. Now, you'll remember we heard a lot about it in the spring of 2024. And ultimately, after Grant used it somewhat frequently in April and May, he really tossed it aside for the rest of the 2026 season. And he feels a lot more comfortable bringing it into action today. Again, we didn't see it in the first inning. Likely to see it more against left-handed hitters. But, guys, the big number I'm looking for when it comes to Grant is that chase rate. 2 years ago, it was in the top 3% of all of baseball at 35%. Last year, more middle of the pack. That was one of the keys to his success a couple of years ago.
Well, he's going to get 4 straight balls in the air, all for outs here as Perez flies to right. And this is the arsenal from last year. So what do you make of what Wiley just said, CJ?
How much we're going to see the changeup. And if you also notice, you don't really see 2 seamers in there. In spring training this year, what we saw from Grant Holmes was using that changeup a little bit more. I thought was really good to see, using the 2-seam fastball a little bit more as well. And got to believe that this now is part of what Wiley's talking about, getting outs inside the strike zone, right? You have that first time you come up and you do a great job and you get some chase, right? Get those outs inside the strike zone and out of the zone. Then guys stop chasing. Well, now you have to adjust. You got to get outs inside the zone, and that means maybe a little bit of an adjustment with the arsenal.
The first 4 outs on just 11 pitches. 13th pitch of the game is low here to Carter Jensen. Royals top prospect, number 11 overall prospect in Major League Baseball.
And I wonder if the Braves will be a little bit more gun shy about challenges today after running out of challenges 4 batters into the game yesterday.
Yeah, that last one that was challenged by Acuna that did not go the Braves' way, and everyone was kind of scratching their head. Well, you can't do anything the rest of the game. Thankfully, the Braves ended up getting the job done. The guy who has looked like a genius so far, and really to no surprise given his veteran status, Salvador Perez, but he's not catching today. It's this guy Jensen that is behind the dish. But Perez 4 for 4 on challenges for the Royals.
I wonder now, as an umpire, and you see a guy like Salvador Perez is going to be catching that day, you're like, oh man, not going to be a good day for me. He's going to show me up.
I do wonder if these zones for these umpires will maybe, for some of them, shrink a little bit because
100%.
of that ABS.
It happened in the minor leagues, and they brought that up, and you started to see the umpires kind of correct themselves as they realized what ABS was calling. So I agree, you'll see it.
That one is a strike on the outside corner. First strikeout of the season for Grant Holmes.
But a little backdoor slider here that's going to catch the outside part of the plate, and just well done. Not a lot of side to side, but just enough depth. As you're going to see it catch the corner, and a good job by Drake Baldwin behind the plate. Even though we have ABS, it doesn't mean you stop framing. Framing is still really important.
Swing and a miss. Lane Thomas. And Grant Holmes gets him to 0-2 quickly.
Do it again. This time maybe outside of the strike zone. You see that early on against back-to-back sliders. Why not?
Yes, he freezes Jensen. He freezes Thomas. Another 1-2-3 for Holmes.
A little chilly for some frozen pizza, but she'll take it. Nice job by Grant Holmes picking up those first 2 punches.
Look at the little man enjoying Game 3 of the season here at Truist Park.
Puckering up there a little bit.
Good day for a light jacket. Temperatures climbing through the low 60s right now here in Atlanta. Long sleeves for Austin Riley as he digs in. Liner to center. Isbell back a few steps to grab it. Austin hit it well, but nothing to show for it. Now Yaz, Mike Yastrzemski, finished last year with the Royals after being traded from the Giants and now in that Braves uniform, and had 2 hits yesterday in his Braves debut. A bunt single and then a big RBI hit to help the rally in the 9th. Innocent pop towards Garcia. Right there in the middle of the dirt, 2 away.
A lot of balls in the air here so far between both of these guys, and neither one of them really a big time ground ball pitcher. Below average rate last year for Seth Lugo. Grant Holmes about a tick or 2 points higher, but so far everything has been in the air for the most part.
Opening day, Ozzie with a lefty on the mound hit third, rewarded his manager Walt Weiss putting him there with a homer to get the scoring started. But yesterday and today with a righty on the mound, C.J. Ozzie hitting 6th in the lineup.
And this seems like probably what we're going to see with some consistency. It was somewhat of an eye-opener, quite honestly, when we saw Ozzie in the 3rd spot. And of course, he made Walt look really smart with the big home run that he had. And it's really important that we get that left-handed, I should say, versatile left-handed pitching swing back when Ozzie's on the right side. We'll start talking about depth of lineup.
To right field, and there is the first hit of the ball game, courtesy of number 1, Ozzie Albies.
Ozzie does a nice job of staying on this cutter. It can be a challenge, especially one that is that far in, not to hook that ball into foul territory. We've seen quite a few of those so far here early on from Seth Lugo. Ozzie getting the head out and hooking that right down the line.
Been a good start to the year for this man, Michael Harris, with 4 hits, including a homer and 3 driven in this series. Another one in the air. It's going to be 8 outs in the air so far already in this ball game. So a hit, but nothing else. We are through 2.
Heroes.
No scores. We go to the top of the third inning. Time now for the strong arm, brought to you by John Foy and Associates. And taking a look at the strong arm of Grant Holmes, 115 innings last year. Been a while since he had gone that deep. And how about just one of 15 pitchers in baseball that has thrown at least 500 curveballs and 500 sliders going back to the beginning of last year. Again, we don't kid around here. We talk about his ability to spin it and how important it is to Grant Holmes' game.
We're talking about those strikeouts last year, but 67 of them on the slider, 30 on the curve. Now, that four-seamer at times did struggle a bit. That's where he gave up most of the home runs. Yeah, that's where he ran into some problems, which is why, as Wiley talked about with the changeup and I think the two-seam fastball as well. It wasn't a ton of usage, but it was a lot more than we saw a year ago. He was kind of testing those out in spring training. We've already seen a two-seamer earlier today, and I think we'll see a little bit more of that to try to get guys off the four-seam fastball. Right fielder Jack Caglione.
If you're wondering why it's so unusual for a guy like Grant Holmes to have both the slider and the curveball, you just don't see it that much, to use it that much. A lot of times you're built a certain way. You're always trying both, but some guys are just better on the curveball. Others are better on the slider. Grant is one of the few that actually throws both very well.
Close. See, Grant Holmes almost looked like he wanted that pitch to be challenged, but he didn't fully commit to it.
Yeah, hopefully this hasn't made the guys a little bit gun shy. That's a borderline pitch. Might have clipped it. Maybe. Yeah, looks like possibly. But see how Grant, I think they know, right? The pitchers aren't going to do it, but he really wanted to there.
First base runner for Kansas City.
When I mentioned, the Braves, would they be gun shy? It's been a little bit of a slow start. 4 attempts. All of them have failed so far. We're not really going to track this, but they are leading baseball in the most ABSs that have not been overturned with the 4.
Slowly to short. There's one. There's 2. Good turn by Ozzie. Big stretch by Matty O.
Well, this was all stretched to make it happen. First, take a look at that two-seam fastball we were just talking about. For Grant Holmes, that's what it's for, to get ground balls. Beautifully done here all the way around, but it was the stretch that made it happen. And it does look like the Royals are going to challenge, and perhaps they're going to win this, but it's not even close if Matt Olson doesn't get all the way out there.
The Kansas City Royals are challenging the outcall of first base.
And remember, these are separate from ABS challenges. So all the new things in baseball the last couple of years. There was some confusion about this counting towards the ABS challenge, but this is a totally separate thing here. Yeah, he's safe.
I'll tell you what, though, it was a heck of an effort. It really slowly hit ground ball, just 71 miles an hour. Jorge Mateo, Ozzie Albies doing a great job. The strike to Matt Olson, it was everything you possibly had that just came up short.
Doug Eddings, the crew chief. Emil Jimenez, Gabe Morales, Mike Malinsky, the other on the 4-man umpiring crew here today at Truist Park.
I'm surprised to see this taking as long as it is. I find that encouraging, right? Because you and I thought we saw it right away. Like,
After review, the call is overturned. The runner's safe. Kansas City retains this challenge.
What a tease.
Hey, Wiley, getting back to the ABS, you spoke with Walt Weiss. What did you find out in that discussion?
Yeah, Walt was pretty candid before the season opened on Friday afternoon, talking about he really wants his guys to focus on trusting their eyes. He said hitters have been standing in the batter's box for a long time, same for our catchers, and he doesn't want them to get caught up too much in this situation or the fear of burning the team's challenge. He really tried to stress them they wanted to get over that fear throughout spring training, so he's giving them the green light.
That's good to know, because again, I think based on how the season has started, 0 for 4 in ABS challenges, it can get you a little bit gun shy, and Walt's got to kind of remind the guys, don't change the way we're doing this. Be aggressive if you're confident.
It's just tough, right? That spot with Ronald yesterday, you're emotional. Your instinct is, oh, wait, that missed. But being aware of the situation as the season goes is going to be important.
No doubt. You don't want to burn through them 4 batters into the game. That's not a trend we want to see necessarily with the Braves. Yeah, team that runs here a little bit with the Kansas City Royals. You have a pitcher in Grant Holmes who was excellent last year. Just 2 stolen bases against him in those 115 innings.
Bottom of the order here, Kyle Isbell swinging a miss. Kansas City offense that struggled to score last year, and so far 2 runs here in Atlanta in the opening series in 2026. Good pick back there by Drake Baldwin. But as CJ mentioned the other day, it is a contact-oriented offense. They do not strike out much. They don't hit a lot for power, but they will be pesky. Just as I say that, no contact there. Down goes Isbell. 3 strikeouts first time through the order for Holmes.
And this time on the curveball, right? So it's going to be a little bit of that slower breaking ball that you get from Grant Holmes. And he picked a really nice time to break it out. I kept wondering we were going to see the changeup, maybe the 2-seamer. They both play well to lefties. Instead, it's the slower breaking pitch with the curveball.
Top of the order, Garcia. Michael Garcia, of course, cousins with Ronald Acuna Jr. and those guys hit 1-2 in that lineup for Venezuela in the WBC that won that title. And Garcia was the MVP of the event. He bounces this to Riley. And then it's airmailed by Mateo. And the runners will be at the corners. I think that just slipped right out of Jorge Mateo's right hand.
There probably wasn't a play anywhere. Maybe he was trying to change his mind after he had decided to throw the baseball and maybe stopping himself. There was nowhere to go with that one. And so what would have been an infield hit, which it still is, also now adds on an error.
So hit E6 there at the corners. And here's Bobby Witt Jr.
Bobby Witt Jr., really good hitter, can hit just about any pitch. But this is what's so nice about Grant Holmes having both breaking balls. As you figure out, as far as the hitter goes, which one's better, the curveball versus the slider. And it's been, what, 3 straight. There's a curveball there, a couple of straight sliders, and then he goes to the curveball. But against righties, Bobby Witt Jr. last year hit .340 on curveballs.
Top 5 in MVP voting each of the last 2 seasons. 2 years ago, finishing runner-up to Aaron Judge. But Holmes has him 1-2. Goes upstairs with a 96-mile-per-hour heater.
I like that. Take a chance, right? Change eye level a little bit and went slider, curveball. So everything has been kind of breaking down. See if you get chased. You don't get it. Good chance he goes back to a breaking ball. It's down and away.
2 on, 2 out, 2-2 pitch. Line to right field. Witt strikes again. Gets the Royals on the board. RBI single. Runners at the corners. Just such a tough out.
He is, and again, you have a deep repertoire. You're trying to sometimes you gotta be careful not out thinking yourself when you're facing a really good hitter. I didn't love back-to-back fastballs to him. You see how short he is and just taking this the other way, but getting the barrel on it as well. Well, maybe one more of those breaking balls down and away to try to get either weak contact or a strikeout, but it's a good hitter, like you said, not easy.
And no surprise, he was their most clutch hitter last year, the best with runners in scoring position, led the team in that category, and he's able to produce with a runner on third there.
That's instant replay, right? Saving the day for the Kansas City Royals, because Isbell would have been out, or excuse me, Lofton would have been out if that call had held on the double play, but they got it reversed and ultimately he scores.
Matt Quatrero, the skipper, 4th year as a big league manager. Remember, a couple of years ago they made the playoffs and lost to the Yankees. Last year 82-80 and did not get into the postseason. Hammered but foul.
Clearly the front office of the Kansas City Royals, despite the fact that that was a down year, like their manager, extending him through 2029. It's an option year on there as well. I think that's important, right? You have a little bit of a down year with a somewhat decent team. They're a good team, but you're not expecting them to go out and win 95 games. Trust your manager, get them locked up, especially after all the turnover we saw this past offseason.
There was 8 new managers total.
Yeah, I get one guy ended up going back, and Warren Schaefer.
Right.
But that job was open at one point. It wasn't an automatic. So a couple different ways to look at it. You could say 9, you could say 10 since the previous opening day. Lots of different ways to dress it up. But there was a lot of change.
Slowly to Matt Olson. He flips. That'll do it. The Royals strike first. Dom Smith stepping to the plate. A warm round of applause here at Truist Park. He made a lot of friends last night in Atlanta with the walk-off grand slam, and then after the game it was revealed that that grand slam came just 13 days after the passing of his mother Yvette, who had been battling cancer, and she succumbed to that on March 15th. And what a moment this must have been for Dom Smith.
No doubt. You talk about the personal side of it. Certainly. Also, he is a new Brave. He makes his mark not just on his teammates, but on this fan base as well. To be able to do it at home. A really cool moment for a guy who's gone through some up and downs over the last couple of seasons. And if you heard him talk after the game, you also know what a likable guy he is as well. Everything about that was amazing, unless you're Carlos Estevez, right? You got bases loaded at that point. You're thinking, well, If I give up a run, I take a loss. Instead, you give up 4 more on top of it with the grand slam.
Dom Smith was fighting back tears in the clubhouse after talking about his mother. Yvette says he misses her dearly. Not a moment goes by that he says he does not think of her, and certainly she was top of mind as he was circling the bases last night here at Truist Park. Routine grounder to Lofton, 1 away. First at bat in a Braves uniform for Jorge Mateo, getting the start today at short in place of Dubon. Braves got him after they found out about the Ha-Seong Kim injury that obviously made Dubon more valuable to Atlanta. And then they felt like they needed to go and get Mateo, at least put him in camp, and he ends up making the opening day roster.
And he brings a little bit more flexibility to the table, as I mentioned, because you can put him in the outfield. We saw it in spring training, but this guy can flat out run. He's got great speed right up there with Eli White.
Now 35 steals back in 2022, and remember that was before the rule changes that were friendly to runners, and that led the American League.
And part of what you're going to get with him offensively, strikeout rate kind of high, walk rate's going to be low. He's not afraid to expand the zone. He'll chase a little bit, and if he's going to be playing infrequently, you're probably going to see a little bit more of that. Tough to do when you're not playing every day.
He goes down swinging on the curveball from Seth Lugo. Ronald Acuna Jr. out to center field. Isbell back. And he's got it at the wall. Ronald missed it by a couple of feet.
Tap.
Today's Kids Club member of the game is Brent Champion from Loganville, Georgia. Brent is 11 years old. His favorite player is Matt Olson. And his favorite part about going to the game is seeing the Braves at bat. Congratulations to Brent. There he is, today's Kids Club member of the game. It's Kids Club Day today, and if you want to learn more about how to sign up your little ones, go to Braves.com/kids.
We almost timed that perfectly with the 13 hat and Ronald nearly going deep. We tried our best, but Maybe do it next time around. Oh my.
What a treat, right? Was that a popcorn bat?
It looked like it, and a big barrel bat, right? That's what matters, because those are the ones you crush with in wiffle ball. Any, yellow bats takes a little bit more skill. That's the kind of bat we need to get in the hands of Wiley Ballard next time he gets on the Little League field, the wiffle ball field.
And Salvi Perez to the left side of the infield. Austin will take it. But when I was growing up, you had the yellow thin banana bat, right? That is also still popular. And then we had the big red bat that we called the Big Bopper. And if we were playing in Aaron Veach's yard, we used the smaller one because the fence was smaller. And if we were playing in my yard, we used the Big Bopper.
You had a little more space.
A little bit more space.
Nice.
And
so, I don't know about you, but the yellow one was also great for shooting bottle rockets out of, because there was a little hole in the top of that one, so you could put your bottle rocket in there and point it wherever you wanted. And so there's multiple uses for those bats, not just wiffle ball.
I gotta say, never heard of that one. Those were some New York shenanigans you were pulling up there.
Yourself a little bit of trouble for sure, but totally worth it.
There's wiffle ball use often out there at the little park, just beyond Truist Park's walls here.
And then for me, with having two boys when they're a little bit younger, go ahead and cut the top off, load it with newspaper, maybe even some duct tape, seal it back up. So now you got some weight to it and you could really launch.
Cork in the bat.
Yes, not afraid. Speaking of cork bats, when I was here in 2004, pitchers were still hitting Turner Field just for fun, entertainment purposes only. I did cork a bat for batting practice for pitchers BP.
And
about 12, 13 rows deep. About where this ball's going, unfortunately.
Acuna as far as he can go. Just enough. And Jensen, the rookie, first homer of the season. He did have a few homers last year in September when he debuted, so that's just the fourth of his young career.
We were talking about this earlier and some of the issues that Grant Holmes ran into with his four-seam fastball, and there is that four-seam. You can see the mislocation as Drake Baldwin kind of brings the glove toward the middle, kind of inner third, if you will. Does make me wonder if we'll see a few more of those sinkers run it away from those left-handed hitters.
That wind today, as we often see here, it's blowing from the left field foul pole to the right field foul pole out toward the chop house.
It was fun. I'm not going to rat anybody out, even though the statute of limitations probably has expired. There might have been a backup infielder or two who try to sneak that bat in the game a couple of times. But it was fun. I mean, it's like anything, right? It gets in your head a little bit. Like, oh, I think the ball's going farther. You get a little bit more comfortable, and got to hit a couple of home runs at Turner Field. For a guy who didn't hit in high school, that was pretty awesome.
Yeah. Well, I just remember back in the day when I was getting to know baseball and watching on the Superstation, and every time there was a broken bat, whoever picked up that bat in the field, they would always check. They would always look just to make sure it wasn't corked. That's in there.
I imagine nobody has the confidence to try that now. I mean, you can't miss anything in today's game, right? There might be a time where you'd see a broken bat and maybe that hitter would be getting it on the way back pretty quickly. Or you'd see a bat boy get out there really quickly to get it because he knew what was up. It's hard to keep a secret these days.
There's nowhere to hide. Everything is public. Grant Holmes in search of his fourth strikeout of the afternoon. There it is. That's twice that he has retired Thomas via the K.
Well, the first time it was the slider looking. This time it is the slider again, but swinging, and really nice depth to that one as he kind of stayed on top of it and pretty much going straight down to Lane Thomas.
Friday, the Braves won 6-0 on opening night. Yesterday, they were down 2-0 and then scored the 6 in the bottom of the ninth on the Dom Smith grand slam to cap it off. And now similarly here in game 3, it's the Royals jumping out again to a 2-0 lead in the 4th. Slow tapper. Holmes takes care of business. Jensen homer makes it 2-zip.
Hamilton.
You are watching Hyundai Sunday, the Braves and the Royals on Braves Vision from Truist Park. Our first Hyundai Sunday, and we are thrilled to have all of you with us. Braves trying to get the sweep, but some work to do, down 2-0 here to the Royals and Seth Lugo. And Drake Baldwin, who just turned 25 years old yesterday, hits it on one bounce to Lofton for the first out. So from yesterday's birthday boy to today's, Matt Olson 0 for 1.
It's interesting to see that was a two-seam fastball that Drake Baldwin just grounded to the right side. That Lugo was actually throwing that pitch harder than he did his four-seam fastball. You don't see that too often. It usually goes in the other direction. But that four-seamer so far today is at right around 91 miles an hour. We've seen that sinker at almost 93 on average.
Yeah, that fastball for him, it's never been overpowering, but he's effective.
He knows how to use it. I do like that two-seam fastball again. And I feel like we're hearing more and more hitting coaches and managers talking about pitchers when it's tough. I mentioned the two breaking balls of Grant Holmes. You hear a lot about the two fastballs. Had that conversation with Tim Hires early on in spring training. When you are sitting here trying to game plan against the guy that's going to give you both the four-seamer and the two-seamer, well, it becomes really challenging. You got to kind of pick which one you think you're going to go after. And if you guess wrong and you get some movement, you're in trouble.
Out to right center for Matt Olson. How far is this one going to go? Right in front of the 375 marker, and Caglione is able to get there. A message right here from our friends at Truist.
Leaders in banking, unwavering in care. Truist. Learn how knowledge and care can work for you.
Well, the Braves have been hitting the ball in the air. A couple to the wall, one off the bat of Acuna, that one off the bat of Olson, but still just one hit for Atlanta, which was the Ozzie Albies single in the second. Riley had a hard line out to center in that second inning, 0 for 1. Hitters count 3-1. Riley swinging 3-2.
It's a good time for that pitch. Just talking about it, the two-seam fastball there, right? You throw that in a fastball count. Again, you're going to get movement. You want a guy to put that ball in play because usually it's going to be on the ground. We'll continue to track here on the other side for Grant Holmes if we start seeing a few more of those.
Lugo looking for his third 1-2-3 frame, and it appears he's going to get it. Garcia, the Gold Glover, throws across to end the fourth.
Banking, unwavering in care.
Atlanta Braves baseball is brought to you by Truist. The legend, the Hall of Famer, Bobby Cox, the statue outside of Truist Park. And we mentioned it the other day, but on April 25th here at Truist Park, it'll be a Saturday against the Phillies when Brian Snitker deservedly will go into the Braves Hall of Fame as well. First pitch here in the fifth. Lofton rips it down the line. Leadoff double.
Be curious to see this pitch because just as we were talking about the two-seam fastball, looks like we got one here from Grant Holmes. Yeah, you can see it there. Pretty good movement on it. Maybe a little bit too much of the middle of the plate. Trying to get that to run in a little bit more, but Lofton ready for it.
Lofton winning a position on the roster out of camp. Backup second baseman Michael Massey has a left calf strain, kind of opened the door for Lofton. And now he's on second base, and the batter is Kyle Isbell. Little flare into the outfield grass, no problem over there for Mateo.
It's a really good job there, right? Nobody out, runner on second. What are you trying to do? You're trying to pull the ball on the ground and get him over. But that's pretty good velocity and crowding Isbell there, and he couldn't do it. He gets jammed, and it turns into a pop-up without advancing the runner.
Back to the top of the order, Garcia. CJ mentioned the other day, but one thing that's changing this year at Kauffman, the Kansas City Royals ballpark, they're trying to make it a little more hitter friendly, bringing those fences in left field and right field about 10 feet. Now they're keeping center at 410, but also lowering the height of the wall, and it'll be very interesting to see how that changes the metrics of that park and what it does for Kansas City's offense.
Yeah, I mean, Bobby Witt Jr. right is a guy that's got great speed. You can count on him for triples. You don't want to lose any of those necessarily in the gaps. The lines are going to stay the same, including how they're kind of curved. down the line. When you're in Kansas City at Kauffman, it can cause some chaos for corner outfielders that don't play there every day when you go in after a ball. So I'm with you. We'll see ultimately. Give it a year, probably more than that, a couple, really, to get a feel for the data and what the changes actually meant.
And their GM J.J. Piccolo, as Garcia walks, he basically said the same thing. He said, look, we're not trying to make it an offensive park. We just want it to be a more fair park. And he said we still want those hitters to be rewarded in the gaps.
You sit there and look at, for me, I went and looked at the last 5 years. Third fewest home runs per game that you get there in Kauffman. Of course, you're going to have Coors Field. Arizona, obviously a really good place for home runs as well. But then you also get the third most triples per game over that time, right? So that's kind of been the exchange where it's okay, less home runs, but more triples because of those big gaps.
I think a guy like Jack Caglione, they're hoping with the power that maybe the fences coming in and down a little bit will help him hit some homers.
And then the other part of it is that they anticipate being out of that ballpark in a few years. And they're going to have their downtown ballpark. I think they're hoping maybe within 5 years.
So Jeremy Hefner, new pitching coach, paying a visit to Grant Holmes, trying to calm him down with 1 out and 2 on here in the 5th and facing Bobby Witt Jr. First pitch, shallow center. Ozzie, a little pirouette to grab it. A quick word here from Zaxby's.
Zaxby's giant chicken finger quesadillas. Get them while you can. Who's got the sauce?
Zaxby's.
I was keeping an eye out, wondering if we're going to get an infield fly there. We did not on that one, deep enough. That was not an easy play. Ozzie did a nice job. And by the way, we haven't seen very many of them, but Grant Holmes did get Pasquantino out on a changeup last time. While he talked about that pitch, we did hear about it 2 years ago, didn't see nearly the usage we thought, and we'll see whether or not Grant Holmes goes back to it again to get out of this inning.
Started him with a slider. Down the right field line, but thankfully this one going foul. Pasquantino was great in these situations last year. He had 47 2-out RBI. That was second most in baseball behind Kyle Schwarber. Let's see if Grant Holmes can change that here. 2 down in an 0-2 pitch in the dust.
So after a couple of sliders and that one that he was way out in front, they go with the chase slider there. And it could be one of these at bats where they're just going to continue to try to pepper him with that pitch. But remember, now everything is kind of broke in towards him. Bad idea maybe to try to go in the other direction and run something away. We'll see.
Something like that.
That was a little bit too good. Too good. I caught a little bit too much. I think they were trying to bury it again, trying to go back to the chase slider. Caught some of the plate again. Clearly, that is the book right now in this situation, that they feel like the slider is the best chance to get him out. But you're still way ahead, so you have an opportunity to take a shot at something that is outside the strike zone.
Yeah, it's been, well, that time a curveball, but all breaking stuff here so far to Pasquantino. Ozzie can't get to it. Lofted around third. And another one for the Royals. They got one in the third, one in the fourth, and now one home here in the fifth to lead it 3-0.
Pretty nice piece of hitting. You mentioned what a good job Pasquantino has done in the past, and now he's got 2 strikes. And look at this breaking ball. That's off the plate. He just went out there and hooked it, stayed on it just long enough to get it out of the reach of Ozzie Albies. That's more credit to the hitter than really any frustration with your pitcher for me.
See the necklace there for the Pasquatch. He's got the Sasquatch. He is all in on that nickname, as are the folks in Kansas City. Perez grounder. Riley gets to it, goes the short route to in the frame. The Royals on top 3-0. We are halfway home on this Sunday afternoon.
Was a
Bottom 5. Let's take a look at our Who's Got the Sauce, brought to you by Zaxby's. The new guys this is coming into today, but Yaz, Smith, Suarez, Vito all stepping up for Atlanta.
Yeah, guys have done a nice job. And Vito, by the way, picking up the win yesterday for the Atlanta Braves. That nice comeback win for him after the 3 punch-outs to kick off his Braves career. It's the first Braves pitcher going back to 1920 that punched out the side and picked up a win in his Braves debut. That's pretty awesome.
That is pretty awesome. And one of those guys, yeah, one of those guys, though, that joined so late, and then all of a sudden he's on the opening day roster, and then stepping in a big spot and getting the win.
I forgot to send this to our crew. We'll get it up there sooner or later, but he was claimed, what, 6 times off waivers this offseason? 6.
Yeah, he was busy, but ultimately ends up in a Braves uniform. Well, Lugo is pitching really well, and remember, this is a hurler who 2 years ago in 2024 was the AL Cy Young runner-up to Tarek Skubal. Was an all-star that season as well. So Kansas City is going to really rely on him, and he has been good today.
And maybe not as bad as the Braves were anticipating with the 10 different pitches. He's only used 8 of them today.
Do we know what he has not used?
That's what I was trying to figure out. So I think the slow curve hasn't shown up yet. That is one of them. And maybe the split. Yeah, he's not had anything register as a split or a slow curve.
Ozzie Albies has both hits here in this ball game for the Atlanta Braves. A single in the second, another now in the 5th.
That was a cutter the first time. It is a curveball hanging this time for Ozzie as he stays on it very nicely, doesn't get too big. Base hit out to center field.
So Ozzie 2 for 2, rest of the lineup 0 for 13. Let's see if Harris can change that here. Michael Harris gives it a ride out towards center field. But in front of the wall, it is brought in again by Isbell. So that's 3 out in that direction for the Braves, but none that have left the park.
I think Michael might have thought he got that one. I thought he got it as well. Between that and the Ronald balls that were hit so hard, it's kind of surprising. And you look at even Tim Hires back there. They know it as good as anybody. The sound, they can look up, they can see the data. Wind's blowing in, I guess, a little bit out there from left center field, knocking these baseballs down.
Almost 109 off the bat. Dom Smith was able to hit the game-winning grand slam yesterday. Let's see what he can do here with 2 outs in the bottom of the 5th. The fan who caught that ball yesterday, by the way, did give it to Dom Smith. And in exchange, both Dom Smith and Ronald Acuna Jr. signed a baseball for that fan.
That's cool, certainly. And you mentioned the story behind it as well, but Ronald Acuna Jr. signed baseball. That's a good trade.
3-1, and certainly a moment that Dom Smith will never forget. He was also asked about all his years with the Mets. He said, look, I've been on the wrong side of that so many times, wearing a Mets uniform where the Braves did that to us. Felt really good to be in a Braves uniform and helping them walk one off. Oh, he's going to challenge here, CJ.
I think he's going to lose this one. Cutter looked like it was coming back a little bit and maybe just caught the corner.
And you are correct.
I wish I was wrong.
All is confirmed. Atlanta has 1 challenge remaining.
By the way, of course, I had to go back and look. Dom Smith actually did it to the Braves when he was with the Mets in 2019. He hit a walk-off homer.
That ABS review powered by T-Mobile. Yeah, that was at Citi Field back in 2019.
Last game of the year, our boss tells us.
September 29th. Yeah, we like it better when it comes in a Braves uniform, that's for sure.
It's kind of like, there's a little pity there, right? The Mets did not go to the postseason that year. The Braves did. Okay, go ahead, have your moment, enjoy it, and also enjoy your vacation.
And Dom Smith strikes again. Ozzie started his engines. He cruises into third. Braves trying to break that goose egg here in the 5th.
We mentioned the four-seamer is not overpowering that you get from Seth Lugo, 92 miles an hour, and though it's elevated, Dom Smith's able to keep his hands above the baseball. Good look at it there from the side, and let's go ahead and lace it into center field.
First time the Braves have had a runner in scoring position today against Seth Lugo. What can they do with it here? 2 down for Jorge Mateo.
They are playing Mateo to pull in the infield, but of course you have to hold Dom Smith over at first, so there is all kinds of room there on the right side. And think about the cutter, the slider, some of those pitches that are working away. There's a reason why they're playing him to pull, because Jorge Mateo hasn't really shown the ability to do that, but this would be a perfect time for a little slow ground ball to the right side.
He fouls it back. Mateo limited last year. He's on the 60-day IL with a hamstring strain, so he only played 42 games a season ago. Looking for a big hit here for the Braves in the 3rd day of the season.
Reaching back for a little bit more there. 95 miles an hour from Lugo.
You don't see that number often from the 36-year-old. 2-2. And a full count. If he reaches, Ronald Acuna Jr. waits next. Payoff pitch. Grounder to third. Garcia has it. Makes the play. Braves still scoreless through 5.
MLB.com.
Opening week is brought to you by Vanguard. Discipline that delivers. 3-0 Kansas City on to the 6th. Grant Holmes goes 5. And now Didier Fuentes takes over. Speaking of discipline that delivers, brought to you by Vanguard. See the numbers from spring training. Very impressive for the 20-year-old.
It might be a little bit of an understatement. He absolutely dominated. It was fun to watch him pitch. And the thing that I took away from most of it for me was the confidence, the way that he was carrying himself and attacking hitters with that fastball slider combination. He does have that kind of split changeup that he has been working on as well, but he has been a 2-pitch pitcher that will play at the big league level, showing no negative effects from the struggles that he had a year ago when he first came up as a 20-year-old.
Yeah, 4 starts last year, and he was a surprise call-up. The Braves had all the injuries to their arms. But a young man who began 2025 in high A Rome and kind of a meteoric rise, an unsuspected rise to the big league level. And at times he looked 20. He looked a little shell shocked. But as you mentioned, he looked like a different guy in spring training.
And also trying to make me look bad with back-to-back split fingers that he threw there. We didn't see it very often in spring. Again, it was the breaking ball. It was so dominant as far as anything off of his heater.
Good start for him. He's able to get 96 by Jensen. And he starts his season off with a strikeout as Didier Fuentes.
Why not picking up right where he left off? It's good heat at the top of the zone. It's got some vert to it, which means some life to be able to get up above the barrel.
And then a comebacker. He knocks it down and makes the play. Thomas retired.
The plan here for Fuentes will be an interesting one. It feels like multi-inning reliever early on. Braves could eventually send him down just so he can continue to start. But I do like the idea of getting a look at him after last year at the big league level now in the bullpen. The one thing you're keeping an eye on is, yeah, spring was great. Let's get him back in a big league stadium against big league hitters and see if it looks as good as we think it's going to.
Yeah, because quite a those at bats in spring training were against minor league hitters.
Exactly. So it's a little kind of test you want to see him pass. And again, he can be very helpful in the pen, but ultimately you still want to see him start.
With the Braves injuries to their starters, it'll be Elder tomorrow, and then it's TBA for Tuesday. You would think that would be Jose Suarez. There hasn't been an official announcement for Atlanta.
How you doing with that wind over there?
Yeah, but papers are blowing all over the place up here. But my bagel that you brought is hanging in there,
holding everything
holding
down?
the napkins down. Yes, right in there. Fuentes, little frozen pizza for Caglione. And a 1-2-3 frame. Great start to the year for the right-hander.
Here comes that fastball again, this time at 96 miles an hour, and no time for Caglione to pull the trigger.
And choosing the right gear to
Brandon Gaudin, CJ Nitkowski, Wiley Ballard with you here on Braves Vision. Braves 2-0, but right now it's the Royals looking for their first win of the season, leading at 3-0. But the Braves do have the top of the order and Acuna at the plate.
Third time through, certainly you'd like to see the Braves be able to get to Lugo, get this thing disrupted a little bit. And just when you think you kind of know a guy, Mark Bowman, who I think we know well, out here tweeting about exit velocities and launch angle, and tells us that that ball that Ronald hit in his last at bat was a home run 83% of the time last year, and even linked a chart. You could click on it and even learn more about it.
This one is hit hard, but Witt is there. And Ronald Acuna is 0 for 3 today. So you're saying Bo is becoming an advanced metrics guy.
They got him. They figured out a way to get him.
If you follow CJ on social, by the way, you know that he has turned into quite the bagel maker. And he brought in a ton for our entire crew today. They were fantastic. That ball is fair. Baldwin is going to put on the brakes at first base with a 1-out single.
A good job by Drake Baldwin to stay on this changeup, hitting it into right field again. Second time around the order. We mentioned he had some issues with left-handed hitters last year with that OPS well above 800, and it's about time to remove the bagel from the scoreboard.
Let's see if Matt Olson can do that. You made everything bagels.
Yeah.
Asiago cheese.
Correct.
And my favorite, the you say what all is it? Cinnamon pecan bourbon?
Bourbon pecan. Or as my youngest son likes to say, the beer bagels. He refers to them as the beer. There's no beer in the bagels. Yeah. All alcohol is the same to him. But we're only down to, I brought in 18 bagels, and we're down to what, a couple of everything. That's all we got left.
There's 3 left.
That makes me happy. I'm glad that they got eaten.
But I want people to see these beauties. Bouncer to first, on to second for 1, and that's all they'll get. So these things they're just like picture, which doesn't surprise me because you're so symmetrical, but you even have the official bagel bag that comes in.
It's not amateur night around here. We're going to do it. We're going to go all the way in, and we're going to do it right.
They really are phenomenal, though. And courtesy of your wife Megan, there's a toaster in the back.
Yep, she did a nice job. She was at Home Goods yesterday. She's sending me pictures of toasters, and I really wanted to say just get any toaster, but she was doing a nice job and she was being thorough, and so I showed what little patience I have.
Another fly ball that stays in the yard. So a base runner in the 6th, but the Braves down 3-0 as we march to the 7th.
Yourself in a new
Time for our Toyota Trends feature of the game. It's all about the Braves and the leather that they've been flashing to start the season.
Something we really had not talked about, right? We get so focused on the pitching, the hitting, bullpen starters, but it has been the gloves that has shown up, including a really good throw by Drake Baldwin early on.
Gonna need a pretty good play here, and the play is made right on cue. Mateo rockets one over to Olsen to retire Lofton.
That's why they made our producer a Veep. I mean, just perfect timing on talking about the leather here for the Atlanta Braves. And Mateo does a nice job. Dubon has been excellent so far at short. And good work there and a really strong throw. Plant, let it fly.
Yeah, Gretchen knew it was coming. So one away, bottom of the order is Bell. Statistician Mitch Smith wants to know if you flew in some New York water for your bagels.
Oh, he texted me too and asking that same exact question. I told him no, what I do, because that is a thing, and there's a New York bagel place up by me that they do that. But I run it through the reverse osmosis remineralized water. That's what goes in the recipes. And then it's tap water with honey. That's what they get boiled in.
With honey?
Yeah, a little honey in there, yeah. In the water.
And what does remineralized mean?
So so we just had like a filter underneath. There was one more step. We had a 5-step one. This was a 6-step because you actually want the minerals back in the water for the bagel recipe.
Didier Fuentes has come in here, retired the first 5 he has faced, and he's fanned 3 of them.
So what we saw in spring training so far has proved to be the real thing. Borderline pitch there at 97 miles an hour. But good life to it. And again, good job by Drake Baldwin to present that as a strike.
So 2 down, and now Garcia. And Walt the other day, when asked about Didier, said exactly what you did. He said the guy that I saw in spring training looks like a different young man, he said, than the kid we saw last year. And I think those words were used intentionally, just because at times he did look so young out there at 20, and he's still 20, but he just looks like a more mature version.
The idea of being 20 years old and failing at that level last year, right? It was a struggle. He was put into a really tough spot. It is something that can stick with you for a while and can be difficult to shake, and he looked completely unfazed. Just the way he was carrying himself as he was pitching, as he was walking off the mound after big innings, just confidence oozing.
Count will go full here. Deep out to right center. The ballpark will hold it. 6 up, 6 down for Fuentes in his season debut. Hey, stay tuned for the stretch, fueled by Georgia Natural Gas. Julia McLean is going to be singing God Bless America. We're going to stay here live for that. Many of you have asked about Timothy Miller. He is fine, just dealing with the family issue, but he will be back. But let's feed you down to God Bless America now.
Let us swear allegiance to a land that's free. Let us all be grateful for a land so fair as we raise our voices in the solemn prayer.
God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with the light from above. From the mountains to the prairies to the oceans wide with foam. God bless America, my home sweet home. God
Welcome to The Stretch, fueled by Georgia Natural Gas. Service, savings, sustainability. It's that simple.
Welcome to The Stretch, fueled by Georgia Natural Gas. Peter Moylan, Nick Green here with you. Peter, we saw this offense yesterday, shut out for 8 innings. They came to life in the 9th inning. We need more of that today. It's been a shutout through 7 or 6.5 so far. They have plenty of power to get this thing done. Can they get it done?
There have been a couple of good swings, one from Ronald, one from Money Mike today that I thought metrically had enough to get out, but it must be a little bit cooler out there. But we started it off with Aussie Albies on Friday night. You asked me who was going to hit the first one. I said it was going to be Aussie right-handed.
First time Peter's been right, the last time
Save
he'll
it,
be right.
Nick. And then Drake Baldwin came up and does what he does, left on left against Cole Raggins. Money Mike, same thing, left on left, tough lefty. That's a good sign for those two. And then if you missed it last night, Dominic Smith, one of the most emotional home runs in his career, if not the most emotional, obviously. Walk-off grand slam just when we needed it. Huge night for him in a Braves uniform and a huge way to get that game last night. We need more of it right now.
Yeah, you mentioned that home runs yesterday, a couple that should have been out today. The wind.
Cold weather.
Cold weather. We got our jackets on. Let's get you back to Braves baseball after a quick word from our friends at Georgia Natural Gas.
When it comes to natural gas in Georgia, G&G leads the league. We keep it simple with great rates that save you money. We even make it easy to reduce your carbon footprint with greener life. Sign up in minutes at gng.com. It's that simple.
Well, the Braves are looking for a late rally on this Sunday afternoon against the Royals. And as Nick and Peter mentioned, already a signature moment in last night's rally. Dominic Smith with the walk-off homer, and his batting helmet that was shattered in the celebration is now on display at the South End Trading Company. That is a new store here just inside the right field gate. The name inspired by the majestic South End ballpark, which was the home of the Braves back in the 19th century, the South End grounds. And guys, there's ton of unique memorabilia, sort of one-of-a-kind things you can purchase, and you can also go into the vault, which is a special area. You can see some of that special Braves lore, if you will, including that helmet from Dom Smith.
And throughout the course of the season, Wiley, will we see game-worn Wiley Ballard, Peter Millar gear out there?
We're working on it. My people are talking to their people, and we'll see what happens.
That is fair down the line for Mike Yastrzemski. He digs for second, slides head first with a leadoff double.
Well, good base running here by Mike Yastrzemski, and not something to take lightly. That is a big-time arm out there in right field. First of all, look how he goes down and gets that curveball. That is well below the zone, and he stays on it well. But Caglianone's got a big-time arm. This is a guy that, off the mound in college, I was told today, touching 97 from the outfield last year. He was well up over 100 miles an hour with some of his best throws.
Let's see if the Braves can get on the board. 8 of the 12 runs the Braves have scored in this series have come in the 7th inning or later. Of course, a lot of those yesterday in that 6-run 9th. Let's see if there's more magic in store today in the late innings. Ozzie pokes it out towards Caglianone. And with that arm that he has, Yastrzemski stays put. Michael Harris coming up 0 for 2 today, but he is our Georgia Natural Gas Greener Life Impact Player.
So far, so good here for Michael, but a good start to the season. Looks like kind of a pitching change coming. But how about what he did after the All-Star break last year in those 69 games? Just absolutely crushing it, and currently at, goes over a couple of seasons, but a 9-game hitting streak right now for Mike.
The lefty Strom is going to take over for Lugo. We will be back to Truist Park in a moment. Opening week is brought to you by Vanguard. Discipline that delivers. By Chick-fil-A, the home of the original chicken sandwich. And by Destin Fort Walton Beach, Florida. Wonderful crowd, a wonderful day here at Truist Park. Only thing that would make it better if the Braves can come from behind here. They're trying. Runner at second, one out, and a familiar face, formerly in a Phillies uniform. The lefty Matt Strahm is on for the Royals.
Doesn't throw particularly hard, but it's got a pretty good breaking ball. Four-seam fastball sits around 92. The slider, though, is kind of the go-to pitch, and he dominated lefties with it last year to the tune of just a 125 batting average against. However, Michael hit a double against him last year, and we'd certainly take one of those right now.
He began his career in Kansas City, last 3 seasons in Philly, and now he returns to the Royals. And Michael swings at the first pitch, 0-1. Back in the 5th, Michael hit it 396 feet to the wall, just missed a homer. Jensen goes back in this one into the seats.
And not surprising, right out of the chute, back-to-back sliders that Michael gets here against Strahm. That double that he hit last year was against the slider. Way in the head in the count right now, probably going to go outside the zone with it.
Oh-2 liner. Pasquantino there tries to get the double play, but will not. That was smoked off the bat, 106 miles per hour, but unfortunately nothing to show for it.
A good sign, though, for Michael. I think, again, in a 2-strike count and the ability to stay on a left-on-left slider. This one probably not where he wanted it, catching a little bit too much of the plate, but a nice-looking level swing there from Michael Harris. He wants a hit, and he'll take a soft contact hit in that spot, but it really is about the process, and Michael's process has been very good going back to the All-Star break last year.
Going to have a pinch hitter here. So Dom Smith, the lefty, will sit. He's 1 for 2. Nick Farmer, the Atlanta native, comes to the plate for the first time in that Braves uniform. Parts of 9 big league seasons, now 35 years old, and a guy who grew up coming to Braves games in downtown Atlanta, and now here at Truist Park. He steps into the plate here in the bottom of the 7th of Game 3 of the season. And the first pitch, he skies it on the infield. And Strahm gets out of it with no damage done.
Hi, I'm Max. I'm here to pump you up at the pump and save you big in the gas game.
TV is here. New way to stream Braves games with no local blackouts. You can watch live or on demand on any device. Your no-hassle way to watch for less than 70 cents a game. Subscribe right now at Braves.tv. So fun to launch Braves Vision the other day on Friday. Then we had yesterday off, which was a little strange, but now we are back here on this beautiful Sunday.
We had to watch some of that inferior Fox coverage. They tried. They did the best they could, but we're certainly happy to be back on Braves Vision. It was a great first game. Obviously, it was an exciting game, but just so cool to see. And I had asked about, because people were commenting about how clear the picture was. And I was like, well, you know, light's a little better. I wasn't really sure, but it was actually, and Gretchen filled me in on the technology of upgrading to 1080 compared to where we were, and other things going on. It got a little technical, but they have put the time and the money in to give you an even more clear picture than you're used to watching Braves baseball.
I think the graphics package, the music, everything is just so well done.
The theme song absolutely hits.
Oh, it hits. I had goosebumps the first time that Gretchen sent it to us. And Bobby Witt Jr. will take a leadoff walk here in the 8th.
I didn't love that you took out the lyrics that we were singing along. You and I had added. I thought that really brought it home. But there was something about not having a good voice.
Yeah. Which is strange, because normally we really get praise for our singing.
It's fine.
By ourselves.
Yeah. In the shower with a great echo.
Line drive, and this one's going to find the grass. And bobbled out in center by Harris. Witt was already heading for third, so now he'll get in there easily. And they're at the corner. So Fuentes cruised through the 6th and the 7th, but now hitting a speed bump here in the 8th.
And this is a good test for him, right? As he goes back out for a third inning and facing a couple of really tough hitters. This is a fastball. It's a four-seamer. Actually had a little bit of run to it, though. And you can see Michael, I think, taking his head off that ball for a second. But I'm with you. No harm, no foul. It would have been first and third anyway. This will be interesting because Fuentes does a good job of filling up the strike zone. You have a very aggressive hitter in Salvador Perez. You also have, of course, a runner over at third base. And so you have the opportunity for chase. You want to just be in the zone because your back's against the wall right now.
Infield in for Atlanta. 97, the heater for a strike. So Fuentes' fifth time that he's been in a Major League Baseball game. For the guy he's facing, Perez, this is game number 1,710. 20 years old, pitching to 35 years old. Lifted, foul, into the seats.
So that this is where you really have to trust your catcher. And Drake Baldwin did a very nice job blocking last year. But again, you have an aggressive hitter. He's not afraid to go outside of the zone. If you're going to throw that breaking ball, get it out of the zone. Don't worry about that runner at third. Drake's going to do everything he can to block it. Oh, or just do that.
He strikes out Perez. Took him off balance. So the youngster, nice little feather in his cap to get the veteran.
My bad. Just throw him heaters all day long in the strike zone and get it past him. Now the location here is excellent, and perhaps Perez had that breaking ball in the back of his mind because he got beat on this fastball by Didier Fuentes.
I think Perez had homer on his mind. He hit one yesterday. And now Carter Jensen. Speaking of homers, he had one back in the 4th.
Well, clearly he has wanted to show the lefties the split. That was it there. Doesn't have a lot of movement to it. But you can see the difference in speed. And there's another one, 89 miles an hour. So you're talking about 8 or 9 miles an hour off of his fastball. Really acting more like a straight change than a split.
One-two to Jensen. And close, but he missed with that splitter. Two on and now a 2-2 pitch from the young righty.
Oh. You got one left.
Yeah, I was wondering if Drake Baldwin was going to tap the helmet.
probably a good call not to do it. Again, he makes it look good too, right? He ends up fooling us sometimes on those borderline pitches. That's the danger, and that's why you don't want your pitchers challenging, because what they see, kind of what we see, right? Drake Baldwin does a good job, takes that pitch that's 2 inches off, makes it look like a strike. And we're like, yeah, it was a strike. No, it was just a really good frame job on a pitch that was actually off the plate.
And the data shows, as you mentioned the other day, pitchers the least successful when challenging as opposed to a hitter or a catcher. Harris over in the gap. Witt's going to tag and score to make it 4-0 Kansas City.
Back and look when this is all said and done, but I don't feel like we've seen very many of the sweeper slider pitch that you get from Fuentes to left-handed hitters. It's been mostly about the fastball and the split.
You make much of that?
I'm just wondering if that was part of the game plan coming in, because it didn't seem like it was an issue for him in spring training. That pitch was that good. Maybe because it's a little more horizontal, not as much depth to it, that they don't like that pitch as much to left-handed hitters.
And Drake Baldwin is going to challenge that one.
The catcher is challenging the ball call.
I think the one that comes across the plate, right, is compared to the one that stays on the outside part of the plate arm side. You feel like it may have caught a glimpse.
ABS challenge powered by T-Mobile.
Oh.
Just enough.
The call is overturned. Atlanta has 1 challenge remaining.
Drake knows what he's doing.
Wow.
He saw this in the minor leagues. Gabe Morales, the home plate umpire.
And I don't think umpires mind when that one happens, right? Because that ball was barely in the zone. It's the ones that we saw with C.B. Buckner yesterday had a little bit of a rough go of it.
A couple,
8?
Yeah, again, a couple back-to-back that weren't so great. Cunha sprinting over there off the netting. Now, the Royals have manufactured well today. All 3 times they put the leadoff man on, they have brought him around to score. Single runs in the 3rd, 4th, 5th, and now here again in the 8th. Looking for their first win of the season and trying to avoid the sweep. Acuna toward the line. The wind blowing that way. He had to go longer than he initially thought, but he gets there.
Jackson.
Atlanta Braves baseball is brought to you by Racetrack, whatever gets you going. By Papa John's, don't miss baseball pizza, available for 1 week only. And by Chick-fil-A, the home of the original chicken sandwich. Back at Truist Park, Braves now down 4-0 as we go to the bottom of the 8th. The new pitcher making his season debut is John Schreiber in his 3rd year with the Kansas City Royals.
Pretty good season a year ago. 74 games for him. Respectable ERA, right around a league average. Strikeout rate, splits are kind of in line for the most part. 94 miles an hour, both on the 4-seamer and the 2-seamer. Sweeper, cutter, changeup as well.
And he's got 9-1-2 here, starting with Mateo. Can hear that grunt as Schreiber releases the baseball.
A little bit of a home run problem for him. He had 10 home runs allowed in those 64 innings.
Well, no homer here, just a routine fly to right for Caglione. Quick message from Delta.
Braves country to the world. Delta, official airline of the Atlanta Braves.
Let's see what Acuna can do. 0 for 3 today, 1 for 11 so far in this opening series. Checked out and he went.
Kind of the way you see Ronald pitched more often than not from righties. Hard in, right? First it was a 2-seamer, that one a 4-seamer. Trying to work that breaking ball away.
So Ronald with a 3-1 count. Three and 2. Braves have put the ball in play today. Only 3 strikeouts, 12 fly ball outs, 7 on the ground, and 5 scattered hits, but no runs so far for Atlanta.
A couple of those hard hit balls that ended up not being hits, including a couple of line drives. We commented on the ones that felt like they might have been home runs off the bat, but there was also some pretty important line drives, including one from Michael Harris that turned into an out.
Payoff from Schreiber, and another foul ball there for Ronald. Maybe the boys are just waiting on another 6-run bottom of the 9th today.
That'll work. Chipping away here in the 8th wouldn't be so bad either.
Broken bat. Routine for Whip. A reminder, T-Mobile members get free MLB.tv. Yes, free. You can redeem now at T-Mobile.com/MLB. Drake Baldwin 1 for 3 today. Change up there. That's a pitch that John Schreiber said he really focused on this offseason. Felt the rest of his arsenal was a little too east-west, hoping that that changeup will help him against lefties like this guy Drake Baldwin.
He did not throw it very often at all last year. Just 21 total changeups thrown in his just over 1,000 pitches. It's a nice tool to have. I mean, he's been pretty good for them, but it's a good point, right? You can see that breaking ball and how much ground it covers and how wide it gets. But to have something against the lefties that'll go straight down or at least look like your fastball to keep them off balance is important.
He falls behind Baldwin, 3-1. Olson would be next. And that time the cutter lands in there. Full count. Drake Baldwin, right field, and gone. The goose egg is broken. It's 4-1.
Good use of a timeout for Drake Baldwin as he comes back here and gets a fastball 94 down the middle. And he cuts the wind, right? We've seen some of these balls that have gotten up and maybe where the wind has killed them, but this is a line drive shot, 396 feet.
That was our play of the game, brought to you by Car Shield. So a couple of homers in the first series of the season for Drake Baldwin. That means that now 9 of the 13 runs scored by the Braves so far in this series have come via the long ball.
But I think to your point, with the contact that we have seen, it doesn't feel like this offense necessarily is relying on it and striking out a lot. It's just been at the big moments they've been able to hit some home runs and get runs across the board.
Yeah, the two earlier that we saw from Acuna and Harris, both of those guys thought they had it and were surprised when it stayed in the yard. Olson got underneath it. Is there room over there? No, thankfully it bounces into the seats. Another 2-2 from Schreiber. Called strike, and Matt Olson immediately challenging.
The batter is challenging the strike call.
Oh my gosh. Wow. Some of these are just so close.
Atlanta has no challenges remaining.
So Braves out of challenges, but the Braves are on the board thanks to Drake Baldwin.
Another nice job here by the reigning Rookie of the Year against the righty, right in the middle. Line drive, home run shot. The Braves are on the board. They trail it by 3.
Prime would like
Top of the 9th. A's coming to town tomorrow. That leads us to our Hyundai Inside the Numbers feature. Bryce Elder will get the ball for Atlanta.
He finished strong. He had a good spring training. I'm looking forward to watching Bryce Elder, including that little cutter that he broke out in spring. We'll see how that looks tomorrow, and playing another important role here for the Braves.
Good start. Fuentes trying to go the final 4 here for Atlanta. Gets Caglione to roll over. It'll be Jacob Lopez going for the A's tomorrow on a Monday night. It's the first time ever the Braves have opened the season with interleague play. So Royals for the first 3, then the A's. Not a traditional beginning homestand, but that's the way the schedule makers lined it up.
Yeah, pretty much there has to be an interleague game every day with the 15 and 15. And I don't know if they say they drew the short straw, but the Braves are the ones that got it this year.
First time they've began at home since 2022. Last 3 seasons, the opener was on the road for Atlanta. First one on the ground to Matt, this one through the air. Got Ursig and Mears throwing for Kansas City.
Well, Estevez is down after all those pitches that he threw last night. And we were told that very likely today for the Kansas City Royals, if they were in any version of a save situation, that they would play matchups. And that's why you have double barrels right now in the 9th inning.
Ronald trying to get to it, pumps the brakes at the last second, and a 2-out single for Isbell. Grant Holmes went the first 5 innings, got the start today, gave up 3 runs. It's been Didier Fuentes ever since. 1 run he gave up so far was last inning in the 8th.
It'd be really nice if he could finish this off pretty quickly. He has been incredibly efficient. As you look at the pitch total now here at 51 through 3 2/3. He's done a great job of picking up the bullpen. We've talked a lot about the 13 straight games to start the year. And your bullpen's going to feel it a little bit. And so if it's Fuentes that can take basically all the relief innings today, that's nothing but helpful for the bullpen going forward.
By the way, a little housekeeping. Earlier they had given Mateo an error at short for a bad throw, but they took that error away. So both teams right now playing airless baseball.
I was saying the runner would have went first to third without that throw. No chance.
I don't think so either. I was surprised, but they corrected that. That was when Garcia was at the plate back in the 3rd inning. Mateo will take it.
Yeah.
Towards Acuna in foul ground. Wynn taking it that way, but enough real estate for Acuna. Bottom of the 9th. Braves need 3, and the 3 coming up. Austin Riley, Mike Yastrzemski, and Ozzie Albies.
Taped it.
Bottom of the ninth. Braves need a rally. So put on your rally cap. Speaking of rally cap, CJ's got it on. April 12th. It's going to be a Sunday first. 3,000 kids through the gates are going to get that novelty bucket hat. It's better for kids.
Yeah, I think so. It doesn't quite fit on this big noggin. But I feel like Judge Smales a little bit too from Caddyshack, right? When he had the big hat on. It's a great hat.
Bet you get a free bowl of soup with that. Oh, looks good on you, though.
That is awesome. I love it. Kids will love it.
Oh, kids are going to eat that up. Braves.com/promos to purchase your tickets. And you can come back later in August, on August 2nd, to get the matching shorts to go with that bucket hat.
They're going to say shirt because I'd be in on the shirt.
All right, it is Ursig that is come on here to try to get the save for Kansas City as he faces 4, 5, 6 in the Braves order. Ground ball, but just foul.
So it's a pretty decent option that you have here. Estevez obviously is your closer, but good numbers for Ursig last year. He's got a good arm. That fastball sits around 98. Slider is very dominating. Not a big time strikeout pitcher, actually below average, but he's got big time stuff.
That one misses. Change in left field. Collins is out there instead of Thomas. '16 career saves for Ursig, looking for number 17 here today to get the Royals their first win of the season. And he starts the ninth on the right foot for KC, striking out Riley. Thomas moves over to right, taking Caglione out of the game. So that's the outfield alignment for Matt Quatrero. And now Yaz for the Braves. Mike Yastrzemski has never faced Ursig, so the first time these two have squared off.
Been consistently 98, 99. He's a very tough guy to get the ball up in the air against. High ground ball rate for him. Only 4 home runs allowed a year ago.
And you saw Yaz's reaction. Remember, the Braves have no challenges remaining. Get through. It will. A 2-hit game for Mike Yastrzemski following the 2-hit game he had yesterday.
It's a nice piece of hitting right here. You're dealing with 98, 99, and then you get this changeup, and that is well located. Down and away, probably off the plate at 91. All kinds of room on the left side, and Mike Yastrzemski plugs that hole.
So there's a start. Now Ozzie. Two for 3 for Ozzie Albies today. Now that one found his bat.
Just realized now after seeing Tommy Watkins get that foul ball and stopping it with his foot, both him and Antoine Richardson, matching shoes. Will that be a theme throughout the season? We'll bring it to you only here on Braves Vision.
I like the reds that they have on. Up the middle, but cheating that way was Witts, and he ends the game with a 6-3 double play. So the Braves don't get the sweep. They do win 2 of 3 here, though, in the opening series of the 2026 season.
And I think ultimately you got to be pretty happy with the way things have started here. Grant Holmes, the starting pitchers have been really good. 5 innings today with the 3 runs allowed, and then Didier Fuentes threw the ball really well. These are the positives. 4 innings and just the 1 run along with 4 strikeouts. So there's some good things that happened here in a good series, and now it's the Athletics coming to town next.
Seth Lugo getting the win for the Kansas City Royals as they move to 1-2, and they head home for their home opener. That'll do it on this Sunday here on Braves Vision. Thanks to all of you for being part of such a special broadcast on Friday as we launch the network, and now again today. We are ready to take on the A's tomorrow. We'll join you tomorrow night. Post-game, though, coming up, so don't go anywhere. The boys will wrap it up from the Battery. For our entire crew, for Gretchen Caney, our producer, Brent Christin, our director, Wiley Ballard downstairs, CJ Nitkowski to my left, I'm Brandon Gaudin signing off and saying so long, everybody.